Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents. And we've got a big one ahead of Double Game Week 29. Firstly, let me introduce you to our Newcastle United correspondent, Simon Bibby. How are you, Si?
Very well, James.
And our Manchester United correspondent, Gary Robinson's in. How are you, Gary?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you, Gary. Lots to talk about. FPL assets on the agenda, the top four race. Feels like we should probably start with an important counter you two teams had a couple of weeks ago, though. Si, the Carabao Cup final was obviously a massive day for your football club. How big was the disappointment afterwards?
It's funny because I think it divided the fan base a bit into those that were upset that some of the fan base seemed to just be happy with like a day out and to have like the experience, and the others that felt like, well, actually, we're at the point now where we should have like more of a winning mentality and be almost like more disappointed than we were. It's always bad to lose a cup final, but if that makes sense, you had the people that were kind of like, well, we're part of this journey. It's the first step. I personally always felt like if you look at all of the clubs that have been on the trajectory that we're on now, you kind of tend to lose the first one. Seems to be the kind of, that's just a part of the you take a couple of lumps before you actually get over
If
the
you
hump.
support my team, Si, you lose the second, the third. It just keeps going, mate.
Well, I said on our trajectory, mate, not. I don't know what Spurs' trajectory is at the moment. On
God
a flight,
knows.
right? On a Ryanair flight somewhere.
He's gone. Update.
But yeah, disappointing. I think we played well, but at that point, I'm sure we'll talk on the kind of mini slump that we've had this season. It was just part and parcel and like carbon copy, whatever cliche you want to use for like how we've been playing, which was play well, give away a goal, and then just not really have like the cutting edge to get back into it, which we seem to have discovered now with a change around up front in our team.
Okay. Yeah, no, we're interested to talk about Isak particularly, actually. Gary, your manager said prior to that final that we had to be aware of shenanigans from Newcastle in terms of time wasting. And your lot pulled out the same tricks on the day, didn't they?
Well, yeah, but if you go 2-0 up in a final, it's always going to happen, wasn't it? So
yeah, can't argue that.
But I think Ten Hag was being a bit clever there, wasn't he? Just trying to get it in the referee's mind before the match, just so he could fall back on it if he needed to. But yeah, if you go in the lead in the final, everyone's going to rinse the clock down, which they did.
In a way, was that a mark of respect? The fact that they made that comment about Newcastle prior to the final.
I think so. Yeah, I think probably most managers and most fans, etc., in the division will. I mean, Newcastle obviously come in at some point. Soon they'll be top four regulars, won't they? But I think probably everyone is surprised that this season they're pretty much in the contention, aren't they? And I know that's partly down to failings of others, but Newcastle were probably expecting. I don't know what they'd have been expecting, maybe 8th-ish and a bit of a run. So the fact that they've been in the top four pretty much all season, yeah, probably is a mark of respect, isn't it? And just trying to get a bit of needle in there, preempt it and say, don't fall for it. But yeah, ironic that you go 2-0 up at half time and then kill the next 45 minutes yourself.
Yeah, key thing you said there, Gary, about Newcastle's pre-season expectations. Have you kind of almost already won this season, Si? I realise there's a big carrot at the end and bookies have got you narrow favourites to finish fourth at the moment. But irrespective of what happens from here on in, it's been a massive success, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. First season in a long time, we've not even, I'd have to go check the Premier League table to see what the points of the bottom three were on. It's been that long since we've had to worry about the bottom 12. So yeah, it's been a success. If the benchmark is what were we expecting at the start of the season, 7th would have been a good season. I think I came on and said that. I think in your correspondence pre-season quiz, I might have been the only person that maybe put us in the top 6. I don't know how popular that was.
Most of them put Tottenham for third, so don't worry about that too much, mate.
All right, fair enough.
And most it should be said would have had Manchester United outside the top 4 as well.
Yeah, I think I did. Based on the last season's form and who you'd signed in the summer. I mean, Casemiro has obviously made a like a world of a difference since he's joined and embedded in the club. And annoying that he played in the final. I think if he wasn't there, like he won't be when we play this time around in the league, then could have been a different game.
I guess for you though, Gary, if you don't finish top 4 from here, in terms of league only for the moment, that's now a failure from this stage, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that'd been unbelievable to not finish in the top 4 from here, given the amount of points we've got, what everyone else is doing, and the fixtures we've got left as well. I think we play most of the relegation candidates, certainly the bottom 4 or 5 anyway. Got some decent looking home games left. So yeah, I mean, even with the cup games and rotation, etc., yeah, to not finish 4th from here would be an astonishing collapse. But
you're on 50 points from 26. Tottenham a point behind, but played 2 more. Newcastle 47 points from 26 played. Liverpool 42 from 26 played. And I don't think we should forget Brighton 42 from 25 played either. So there's only 3 points between your 2 teams. Same games played. Newcastle win Sunday, you're level. Games played. I don't know. Is it that much of a sure thing, Gary, that you'll finish top 4?
Yeah, but that's just against Newcastle, isn't it?
I get that.
I think
But you could be 5th on Tuesday. Don't worry, Tottenham won't win at Everton. But yeah. you could be 5th on Tuesday.
Yeah, but then we're going into a home game, aren't we? Which you would have as favourites to win. So, and then
it feels like every week it's changing, right? So we're the only team out of the Champions League chasers that have won their last 2. So you look at Manchester United, obviously got that result against Liverpool, and then the draw, and then Spurs have won, and then they chucked away points at Southampton. Liverpool just lost their last game. But if you look back prior to that, we lost 2 in a row and other teams. So I think it's just going to probably fluctuate between now and the end of the season. Like all it takes is a run of a couple of wins, and then one of the other teams messing up, and then the picture changes.
Yeah, I mean you're below 2 points per game, Gary. So I think when you're below that, you're not locked in. And
no, but that's because it's a bang average league this season, isn't it? Let's be honest. The top 4 battles is awful. There's 8 or 9 dreadful teams in a relegation battle. It is a very bang average league this season.
I don't think anyone thinks that you won't finish top 4.
Yeah.
By the way, and I think most people would think that you'd still go and finish 3rd, even if you lost at Newcastle on Sunday. Partly because of what you said, the fixture run you've got left. I mean, afterwards, you've still got to go to Tottenham. You've still got to go to Brighton. But I mean, there's nothing to be scared of. Even those 2 fixtures. Never mind what the other fixtures are. Your hardest game left is the game on Sunday at Newcastle. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's locked on. Si's obviously mentioned the 7-0. That was followed by a 0-0 with Southampton, which obviously had mitigating circumstances with another Casemiro red card. Of course it did. But that's 2 without obviously a goal. Your goal difference is the worst of the top 7.
6, is it?
Yeah. We're on +6. I mean, even my team's on +12, Gary. So our goal difference is double better than yours. Now, of course, partly the Liverpool result, Brentford right early in the season. I mean, that's -11 you're taking off of what would have put you on, say, +17, for example. But was that... I think the Liverpool game we all thought was a one-off, right? Was it? We just put it down, just the worst day imaginable, and that's the end of it.
I mean, it's a funny one because it's hard to say. It's hard to say it's a one-off given the results we've had in the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, we lost 4 to Brentford, we lost 4 at Brighton last summer or last spring. We lost 6-1 to Spurs. We've had 4s and 5s against Liverpool. We've had all kinds against City.
Another one this weekend as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Fighting talk.
Yeah.
I wish.
Philip Albert chip in the last minute. But
we still talk about that every weekend that comes up.
So we have been prone to these batterings where 2-0 becomes 4-0 and the roof caves in. But then in the context of this season alone, or after the first few matches, it came in we're in such a good run of form. Yeah, even since, we had the 0-0 against Southampton, but like I say, we're down to 10 men for about an hour of that. So you can spin that both ways and say, what a gritty performance that is off the back of a 7-0 to then go down to 10 men after half an hour and still, I know it was against Southampton, but still, still kept a clean sheet. We've beaten Betis twice since then. We've beaten Fulham pretty fortunately, but we're grinding through the cups as well. So it seems like they might have got it out of the system, but I mean, proof will be on the pudding on Sunday because we need to get some league points back on the board soon.
Could there come a scenario, say the next week or so goes badly, and I don't know, you draw to Newcastle, say you only take 4 points maybe from these next 3 games, would certainly keep you in and around it. Then you go to Forest, then you've got another blank where other teams may catch up even further on you. Newcastle host Tottenham, for example, that weekend. So at least someone's making up some more ground for you. Liverpool have Nottingham Forest at home that weekend. Do you think there could come a point where something gets sacked off and sacrificed if fourth becomes dangerous? Because I think a lot of us think at the moment, you'll be all right. You'll finish top 4. We're more concerned about game week 37 and game week 38. You might heavily rotate if you've got a Europa League final and an FA Cup final still to come. But actually, could that swing the other way? Where it becomes a concern and you rotate heavily in Europa, which it doesn't feel like you have done at any point in the competition. But Fernandes plays every fucking game, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, look, Ten Hag's had a great season, but his use of that squad's hasn't been great. And some of that's down to because it's quite a thin squad. He doesn't trust a lot of them, and probably rightly so. But like you say, I mean, Fernandes played every match since the World Cup. Even the second leg against Nottingham Forest, in the semi-final, we were already 3-0 up. I'm sure he started second leg. I think he started in every FA Cup match, or certainly the last few. Rashford the same. Obviously, Rashford's jibbed out of this international break and got himself a rest there, but
jibbed out.
Well, he's that's what Southgate messaged me anyway.
That's not a real yellow flag on the FPL site.
It's not, mate.
Fake international.
No, I mean we probably cover that and say now Marcus Rashford trained we're pre-recording this on Monday night. Marcus Rashford trained at Carrington, isn't it, Gary? He trained there today, so it's fine.
Well, at least he's back from New York, so he must be fine. So, so that's. I mean, the other thing is though, depending when this league, or in your hypothetical, this league run goes wrong, it might be that he does what Mourinho did and bins off the league and just says, "Look, let's just win the Europa League." But it was easy for Mourinho to do that because the run to the final was it was a lot softer than this run will look, I think. But I mean, when Mourinho did it, I think we were 3rd or 4th at one point in that season, and he just completely binned it and said, "Look, let's just win the Europa League." But I just think with the fixtures we've got and the way other teams are performing, I just can't see how we end up in a position where we're scrambling for 4th. I'd be so disappointed if we get there.
So you mentioned obviously prior to these wins against Forest and Wolves, which I mean, certainly Forest was absolutely deserved. But there were 2 quite late victories, I think it's fair to say. Obviously, Forest was basically injury time. Prior to that, you had the defeats with City, Liverpool. You also had a game where you spent the majority of the game with 10 men, but you were already 2-0 down at that stage. You drew at Bournemouth, could have lost. You drew at home to West Ham before that. You drew at Palace. Yep. There was a blip before these last couple, and I think there's a nagging feeling for a lot of people that Newcastle have. I don't want to say hit their wall, but a few people have said, "Oh, they've stopped scoring." It feels like a little bit. Now you've got 4 in your last 2, but then you'd probably expect that from Wolves at home and Forest away, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think we had a funny old season, really. Like, obviously, it's been great, and we're chasing down that top 4, but so many results could have gone either way. Either have gone in our favour, or some shitty VAR decisions have gone the other way. And we honestly, I reckon about 6 to 7 games this season, points where we've got 3 could have been 1 could have been 0. Just that kind of variance. We could be anywhere from 7th, 8th up to comfortably 3rd. But I feel like I kind of owe an apology to some of your listeners. The last time I came on was prior to West Ham, and we just started to go on that slight. And I remember saying the much you'd get out of me was that we dropped 1% or 2, the players had, and I was still quite bullish and confident. I didn't really want to kind of believe that we were about to wet the bed a bit, but I kind of felt like that downturn was coming, and pretty much everyone has it apart from like your league champions. But I do feel like the last couple of games, bit of luck, scoring in, especially Forest, like injury time first half, injury time second half. You don't do that every week. But I feel
you deserve to win at Forest, mate. Not in question.
Yeah, well, we deserve to win a lot of games that we've drawn this season, to be fair. Like, consistently, I would say when we haven't been outplayed that many times this season. And when we have, we've lost. And it's been evident, like the Liverpool game, for example. Even that, like, 10 men, like, you played
right.
well. I just feel like with Isak in the team, if we can keep him fit, he adds such a different dimension to us. And, we haven't seen Gordon yet. He's injured at the moment, but you don't need Gordon when you've got Murphy, like putting in 6 or 7 crosses a game, taking potential BPS off Trippier. But yeah, no, I feel like people should expect 2 goals a game. If we can score early in some of these games, we might start hitting 3, 4 like we did at the start of the season, potentially. But from here on out, I think every game's going to be tight.
These next 5 for you feel pivotal. Obviously, the opportunity to go level on points for United on Sunday would be psychologically massive. I think it wouldn't mean that Manchester United should start shitting themselves, but I think it'd be massive for you as a statement. West Ham away could be sticky. Brentford away could be sticky. Villa away could be sticky. And you've got the Tottenham fixture in 32 as well. If it goes bad over these 5, despite the fact the running looks good, but you still have to play Arsenal and Chelsea during that period, you could find yourself quite a bit adrift, couldn't you, if this goes badly?
Yeah, it's like I said, like all these teams, I think a couple of results here go against you, and then it's really the other teams. It's a question of whether they're dropping points or winning their games as well. I think I do feel like we looked at the last big international break that we had before we went on our big run at the start of the season, when there was that 2-week international window. The team went off to the Middle East, came back, and then we were absolutely firing. And they've just done the same during this international window break. So I feel like Eddie's going to have them refocused, retooled. We haven't got a cup run to think about. It's all on the league for us, which is obviously different to a lot of some of the other teams that are chasing this Champions League spot as well. And I'm more confident, I'd say, now than when I came on last time before West Ham, that I think,
despite that run of the 5 games. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So do you think you'll finish top 4?
Yeah.
Go on, say it.
So let's say it. Yeah,
Gary, jump in. Do you think they'll finish top 4?
Yeah, I think they'll sneak it. I mean, look, I think the only caveat is how do Tottenham respond after this last week, isn't it? I mean, everyone's expecting Liverpool to string a run of results together, but they just don't look capable of it to me. And I know they've got some good fixtures coming up, but yeah. So I think if they can keep Isak fit and get some goals going again, yeah, I think Newcastle might sneak it.
Who are you most worried about, Si, of the other teams?
Before the weekend, I'd have said Liverpool. Well, actually, I'd have said Chelsea, but then they just look like they've got a rick in them every once in a while. Where it seems like they're kind of getting it together, and they'll
Chelsea are too far off now. I think I had to beat Everton.
Yeah, it felt like they were just before that result that they were kind of putting a run together and like potentially could do it. I think it's always going to be Liverpool just because of the amount of talent they've got in their squad. They've done it before, Now it's their main focus is to get back in that top 4, and I think they're used to chasing down targets. So if Klopp's got them well drilled, I could see them like potentially going on a run. They're obviously they've got issues with their midfield, but for me, it would just be such a bizarre season if Liverpool didn't finish in the top 4 compared to where everyone thought they'd be.
Oh yeah, no one would have been. Unless you had great foresight, would have been tipping Liverpool to finish outside the top 4. You're 5 points clear of them. You've both got 12 left. They've got City away, Chelsea away, and Arsenal at home in their next 3. And it feels like that's going to be pivotal, because I think if they come out of that period and they're as close to you then as they are now, you look at their running and go, jeez, they're capable of winning all of their last 8. And I'll certainly take on board what Gary said. I ain't have any one. Was it 3 away wins? Is it, Gary? Which weirdly one was at your only home defeat, wasn't it, Si?
The other reason I think Liverpool could potentially clip us is
they beat
that
you
we
twice,
lost both
haven't they?
games.
Twice, yeah.
They you go through Arsenal, which teams could beat us twice. It's pretty much, I don't know, just Liverpool essentially. So it would be ironic and very kind of Newcastle to lose to the only team that's beaten us twice all season.
Ironically, Tottenham have still got to go to Liverpool as well, and obviously, I think we can probably presume that Liverpool would beat Tottenham at Anfield. So Liverpool taking 12 points on that kind of mini
with a back four though.
Anyway, enough of Tottenham, to be honest. So you said something very interesting about Jacob Murphy nicking Kieran Trippier's BPS. Is that real?
Oh well, I mean, in terms of shot cross volume. So previously, the reason he was very high on the BPS, even if he conceded or got a yellow card, was because of chance creation and volume of crosses. Whereas, so with Almiron in the team, that's the case. With Murphy in the team, he's more of a old school winger, so he's putting in more crosses. So you'll see that despite getting his last points, he got an assist against Forest. I got that right, or did he blank?
Murphy. No, it was Willock's assist for Isak, wasn't it? No,
he didn't.
Disallowed.
Yeah. He started to trim that off, but the question is whether Murphy's going to stay in the team. My answer would be, for anyone that's interested, because he is an insane price, was he 4-1? Yeah. Is if we keep winning games, he will stay in the team. That's just how it does it. Yeah.
Almiron's been pictured running this week as well, so he can't be far away, mate. He might even be in contention for Sunday.
Murphy will start.
Yeah?
One of the last 2 games he's played, and he's played pretty well in them, he'll start. How doesn't really change it up unless there's, if the team's winning, he'll stick with the team. So Murphy will start next game, can almost guarantee it.
So he started the last 2, played 84 and 83 respectively in them, which is certainly sizable chunks. I think for a wide player, we can almost call that 4 games, to be totally honest. Do you think he'll stay in at 4.1?
Yeah, he'll stay until we lose.
So what would you say to Almiron owners? Because quite a few would have bought him going into last game week, only to find out basically an hour or 2 before the deadline that he'd obviously had a setback. I think reports from Paraguay had suggested he was out, which was confirmed as true. But there would definitely be people listening or watching this who've got him in and now looking a bench boost. What's the advice for them?
I mean, if he's fit, he'll play. The problem you've got is Eddie Howe, and I love him to bits, is a liar. He's a pathological liar when it comes to fitness news and updates and injuries. You can't trust a word he says. If he says the player's on the grass and training, he could still be 3 months out, unless you physically see the photos, which in this case, I think there have been some.
Wasn't it? Ramirez was definitely out, wasn't he? And someone saw him running for a plane, and then suddenly he played at Palace the next day, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I don't even listen to Eddie. I only listen to Eddie Howe's press conferences, just not for injury news, pointless, just to get his sort of tactical take. And when the odd question about Saudi Arabia comes up, which that's free.
He never talks about that, mate. He bottles that completely.
Almiron will play. He'll get points. He scored his last goal off the bench.
But when you say play, I presume you're saying doesn't start, right? I mean, it's worth saying at the moment.
He's not starting to. He's not starting to.
It's worth saying on the FPL website at the moment, they've got him red flagged with thigh injury with expected return date of April the 30th. But I definitely know that I've seen him photographed running over the weekend. So I guess that red flag, if Hal doesn't give an update, will be enough for people just to go bin, I presume.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Interesting. So is the question, would I swap him out? I mean, midfield is, for this double game week, it's quite hard to find a slot for a Newcastle player. So I'd say it's probably not worth the hold.
Yeah, you've got all 3 of those Brighton assets at cheaper and obviously available to you. It's probably, unless you're already on 3, that probably sideways. Yeah. You've also got the likes of Buendia, Benrahma, similar price. You might want to consider
Madison's
short terms. If you can get up to a James Maddison. I'll work on the basis everyone's got Rashford. But Trips, would you give any thought to captain him this week? Sorry.
No, not with the 2 fixtures we've got. And we are what we weren't doing when we went on that run of clean sheets was giving up a silly mistake a game and it costing us. You could argue that most teams will make one mistake and we've just been punished quite a lot. But it's been a bit sloppy from set pieces. I don't like that against West Ham. They scored again from a corner at St James's Park. You're never going to bank on the clean sheet against Manchester United. I'm not saying it's impossible. I think the team will be set up to try and not give them anything. And let's be realistic. The cup final, until that, again, that was a set piece goal. We kind of looked fairly solid in that game. So no Casemiro. Rashford will definitely play. I just think there's better options, and you want to go with an attacking option. He's not. If he was still hitting his bonus points at the rate he was earlier in the season, then yeah, potentially. But you haven't got that safety blanket, so really you're kind of now back to thinking of Trippier as a 6-9 point ceiling per game. Nah, not for me.
But it's a double.
Yeah, it's double. Pick him. He's definitely one of the best defenders to put in your squad. I don't know his ownership now. If
it's massive. I mean, it'd be
a bit.
The majority of live teams, certainly. I'm going to guess, Si, you've probably not set up your bus team yet for 29 because I know you're lackadaisical like that a little bit.
Well, I've just been enjoying the international break, to be honest, James. But just on Trippier, you'll never guess who's number 1 in the ICT index on the Planet FPL, the Fantasy Premier League website. It is one Kieran Trippier.
Is it really?
Yeah, so captain him. Everyone should triple captain him on that advice. Then.
Okay, so who have you got the captaincy bust on at the moment?
I'm not going Rashford just because they play us, so that's not happening.
Okay, that's the answer I was looking for. Is have you stuck it on Rashford? You've said no. Gary, I presume you will be, will you?
Probably not.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, I just think Newcastle away is going to be a stodgy fixture, and I think Brentford at home will be a stodgy fixture, and Rashford could quite easily get a 5 and a 7 or something, and that'd be great. But I'm just looking at some of the other people around, and I might go to Rashford, but there's some other midfielders who've got like a Maddison who's got better fixtures. Brighton,
bloody Leicester, mate. I mean,
I
the liability.
This is the risk or reward though thing, isn't it? Do you stick with the Rashford and hope for a I can't see Rashford getting 3 returns over the 2 matches realistically against Brentford and Newcastle. Whereas someone like a Maddison or a pardon?
Is there anyone that you can in 29? I think, if you still had the triple captaincy chip left and perhaps had used your bench boost, I don't think you'd be losing that triple captaincy this week. I don't think anyone's great.
No, but I'm just wondering, would you prefer a Brighton midfielder get Bournemouth and then have the Brentford as a bonus? Yeah, and even this is given how poor West Ham have been, but even a Bowen or a Benrahma for that Southampton game and take the Newcastle as a bonus, and you just think, could I get a 15 and a 2 from them?
You know what Sudge will say to that, don't you?
No, he'll say
no.
Yeah, but I'm just look. I might, when it comes to it, you might think Rashford's a sensible one, but I just at the minute I'm half wondering: is there a Brighton midfielder or could I buy a Maddison to get a massive haul?
Most people are going to captain Rashford, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong. And I'm probably going to do the same. To be honest with you, partly because of that I don't think the alternatives are great, and I think if I did, it's probably what you said.
Week, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably one of the Brighton midfielders. If I didn't captain Rashford, or Gary, should we? Bruno Fernandes. Could you make a case to captain Bruno over Rashford?
I think you'd probably that'd be overthinking, wouldn't it? If you're going to captain one of them, you're going to have to go for Rashford. But
if you're massively chasing and really want to go for differential, arguably this would be one of the best weeks, I guess, to go for a differential captain, because no doubt one of these players that we're mentioning probably will go off big with the 2 fixtures, right? It's just hitting the right one.
Yeah, definitely. I think you could go Fernandes. Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's on the penalties. He's taken the last few when they've both been on the pitch. So you could go Fernandes. I mean, I suppose the other thing, a lot of people probably be half wondering whether to even buy him, never mind captain him. So
I was just going to say, I've massively called on getting him for Saka. Massively called on that. And I'm at the moment, my bench boost is Raya, Henry, Saka, Zinchenko. And out of those, I think it's one of those defender spots. I've got 2 free transfers actually. So
I've got 2 frees as well. Yeah,
I'm thinking that those 2 defenders are the places to swap out. And I've also got Iheanacho, which I know you have, James. Or did
yeah, well, we could probably cover all my thoughts off in one go because, to be honest, my plan was Iheanacho to Isak. Yeah. But the fact that we now think, and I think we have to assume now that this additional Newcastle-Brighton fixture is not going into 31 and more likely to go into 36 or 37 if perhaps City go out of the Champions League, makes the appeal of your assets far less than what it would have been. I've got double defense from yours with Trippier and Botman in any case. And yeah, it was the idea of get Isak in and then, to be honest, get to 31 and actually make a decision on whether I captain Isak or Trippier. So the appeal of Isak's not as big. And the problem for me with Iheanacho is now, do I think he starts twice in 29? No. Do I know he's capable of scoring off the bench? Yes. Your double's not amazing. And if Iheanacho does do well after this week and gets back in, he's got Bournemouth at home in 30.
Yeah.
And it's as much that. So, like, free transfer, Iheanacho to Isak, yeah, no problem. Don't want to take a hit for it. Not so sure that's going to pay off for me over the 2 weeks, to be honest. And then there's every case at that point, with you not having the double as it looks at the moment in 31, that I'll be moving the player to Darwin Núñez anyway in 31. So it would be really short term. So I've gone a bit cold on that. That was going to be part of a -8. The other -4, I think, still on. As much as you've gone cold on Saka to Fernandes, I'm probably a bit warmer on it. And it's not just on 29. It's the fact that United have got Everton at home and Forest away afterwards. Plus, on my strategy, anyway, I'm free hitting 32. So when I need the Arsenal players most, their run is, listen, they're the best team in the league at the moment, but their run is bad. Otherwise, I can take it on. So less of a need for Arsenal. Over the 3 weeks, I think, yeah, sure, Fernandes could overtake Saka. And obviously, if I've got him in place, then it's the additional fixture in 34 as well. So at some point, I'm probably making that move. If I don't make the move, Saka to Fernandes, it's probably at some point going to become Saka to Salah instead. So that's the only bit of the doubt. The other one, I think, is probably on for me, again, in reference to Brighton. My decision was going to be Gabriel to a Brighton or Manchester United player. But with Brighton not having the additional fixture in 31, I might wait for it. Again, because United play Everton and Forest in 30, 31. So Luke Shaw's my guy, Gary. And I know you love him as an option, don't you?
I don't dislike it as an option.
Side's massively shaking his head for the audio listeners.
No, I don't, just because the sheer, volume of fixtures that, the amount of doubles and decent looking games, I won't be buying Shaw because I've already got De Gea and I've already got Rashford, so I'll be going elsewhere. But yeah, I think if you need a defender, but I mean, it depends. If you're buying a defender for the rest of the season and you've got to plan your 34 doubles and your 37 doubles now, then Shaw might be a guy. But if it's just for the 29 double, there might be better options out there. But
if you were wildcarding Gary now, and I think let's say wildcarding now, and just hypothetically you were setting for a 34 bench boost, for example, I guess you'd go 3 United, wouldn't you? And if so, which 3? Rashford plus which other 2? Yeah,
I mean, you definitely have to have the 3, wouldn't you? Because we've got 3 doubles plus
good fixtures,
some unbelievable singles coming up. So yeah, you'd go Rashford. I think you've got to go Fernandes. None of the midfielders appeal. You're not going to take a gamble on an Anthony or a Sancho. Obviously, we haven't got any strikers in the game.
What? Weghorst?
Well, yeah, all right.
Martial?
Neither of them are options, are they? So, and I think I'd go De Gea, I think, because it just leaves your keeper sat for 3 doubles. that's going to play and can just forget about it. I suppose you could maybe say Ederson might be a better option as a keeper it's Man City, and we might get to a point where we all want 3 other Man City players. So I think I'd go De Gea, Fernandes, Rashford.
That's the 3 I'd go with. Like if I had a goalkeeper problem, which others have, rather than a defender, and I wouldn't say Gabriel's an issue, but I'm going to move it on certainly. Certainly with those fixtures coming afterwards, there's every chance to be benching him a lot of weeks in any case anyway. So my issue is the defensive. It's not so much in goal.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think De Gea is a better choice than Shaw.
Yeah, I'm only on De Gea because I went for Sanchez on my Wildcard and obviously didn't play. And I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to come straight back off it because then it allows me to go back in for another Brighton midfielder as well now. Just thought, do you know what? I'll just move it to De Gea now and I've done with it. So yeah, they'd be my 3. But I mean, Shaw's not the worst buy in the world. But I mean, I've said it every time I come on here, usually prompted by you. But his attacking returns in FPL they are pretty minimal. We've got no Casemiro for the next 3. Our defensive record without Casemiro playing pretty awful. I think Varane's back fit again, but I mean our record without Varane's not so great either. So
I don't know if Fernandes, like, does Fernandes and Shaw outscore Saka and Zinchenko at home to Leeds? That's my issue. I don't know if they do. I'm not.
Let me, Gary. Let me ask you a slightly different question. If you were wildcarding this week and your final choice was Fernandes or Saka, who would you go with on wildcard?
I'd go Fernandes just to buy all them fixtures for the rest of the season.
So that's the answer then, isn't it? For you, if you're saying it's a free transfer.
Who for me?
Yeah.
Well, I can get to Fernandes without selling Saka because I can sell Odegaard and Martinelli with the money in the bank. So that's what I'm doing.
Narrative, isn't it?
Yeah. So I haven't got the same dilemma that Sai's got.
It's Saka Fernandes seems like so many people, and obviously Saka's haul-in game week 28. Plus people, oh my God, he scored against Ukraine. Like, oh, that's going to change my mind. It really shouldn't. We know how good a player Bukayo Saka is. I always say this, when you sell a player like that, no one's selling a Saka thinking, oh, he can't return against Leeds. Like, I'd expect him to. It's more for me looking at going, can Fernandes hit a certain amount of ceiling above him over these few weeks? I want to gamble the doubler. That's just generally my take on it. And if people feel differently, that I completely understand that. It is fine margin call. I think for free, I'd be doing it. Go on, Si. I see you got something you want to add on to that, I think.
Well, just that you're talking about buying a Manchester United defender or goalkeeper, and he's coming up against Isak, who I'm going on the record as saying that he is top 3 best strikers in the league. And he's going to prove that.
Which 2 are better than him?
Well, if you Haaland and Kane just on output alone, if you're looking even at from an question is that immediately going to translate into FPL, or is it one of those where he becomes like the obvious pick next season because he's missed a lot of time, but his like returns are essentially like 1 a game. And I'm looking at my front 3 on my bench boost: Iheanacho, Watkins, and Tony. He's a better pick than all 3 of those. So it's like, well,
he is.
I need to get him in. I just don't. And the obvious one is Iheanacho, but I also agree with what you said. Like, Bournemouth away, I don't think it's the same picture of Bournemouth at home. So even though I've got the captaincy on Matoma at the moment, like Bournemouth away, Brentford at home, all these fixtures are shit. So I'm thinking, just get Isak in.
You're going to captain him, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah. If I brought him in, I'd captain him. Because honestly, I don't like. I'm looking at I've got a squad of 15 here. I know you can't captain people on your bench, but I don't like any of them.
Interestingly, like if I was wildcard, I would go Isak. I would, absolutely. And part of that as well, I'd mentioned to Gary the idea of what United players you'd go on if you were bench boosting 34. One of the interesting quirks to 34 is the fact that there's a number of teams who've got really good single fixtures in 34. So Brentford are at home to Nottingham Forest, for example. So your Tonys, Ben Mees, Leicester at home to Everton, your Maddison owners, and also yourselves at home to Southampton. And Well, I think what a lot of people are debating now, perhaps maybe we've gone early on Isak, perhaps sitting there with a combination of like Isak, Share, Trippier, and looking at it and going, I don't love this week. I've got some issues. Am I better off just waiting until game week 34 and bench boosting with those 3 Newcastle players on the bench?
Yeah, I've thought about it. I've thought about like, because Raya and Henry, if I'm looking to ship out a double game week player at this point because he's my worst asset, it's like, well, but then like if I can't bench 2 double game week players, can I not play bench boost? I don't know. Is that ever been?
Yeah, plenty of times. It comes down to which week do you think is going to get you the more points. Now, the other thing that's worth saying is, which I think we overlook sometimes, is going over 5 weeks, you could have a certain number of problems where those Newcastle players could get injured, and it's like, oh shit, what am I doing now? And it kind of feels like if you're in doubt, which I've looked at it as well. I've actually looked at 36 and 37 as well, because I don't think I'll land badly for those either. But looked at it and gone, I think there's enough doubt where I'm probably better off just pulling the trigger, because it allows me to do things like go, right, I'll go Sam Greenwood in a couple of weeks, go 2 up front. I can then work myself a position to have the likes of Salah, Fernandes, Haaland together quite easily from there on in.
Do you think, so you've obviously clearly done a lot more planning than me, but like I've got like 11.5 million in the bank.
It's my job, Si. Yeah, I've got similar. Yeah. Got similar.
And do you think you need to go down to a Greenwood? Or can I be
honest with you, on what I've got planned transfers, it would involve getting Greenwood, and I'd have 0 exactly in the bank in 34 currently.
Yeah, my team's quite similar to yours. That means I'm fucked then, clearly, if I don't do that.
We talk about it offline, mate. But it's the same question then that I asked to Gary. If you were wildcarding now, I'm thinking, because listen, you've been very good this season. Double in front of you, great fixture 34. You know that extra double certainly coming at some stage against Brighton. Which 3 Newcastle do you go if you're wildcarding now?
Who are you asking me that? Sorry,
for size. Sorry, it's his team. Sorry if I said Gary.
I would. I'd go Trips, Isak, and maybe a Bruno G. Just a cheeky little Bruno G shout. He started to play a slightly more advanced in the last game, which I liked the second half of Forest. I don't know if that was game state or not, but he's been off it in front of goal. And we've seen he can get points. I feel like out of all the midfielders, he's the only one that you know is going to consistently get minutes. Like the wingers can chop and change. But Isak, I'd say he's clear of Wilson now in that team. Clear of Wilson. And I think,
is there any doubt on you for that? I mean, could they play together?
I would like to see them play together. The reason I put Isak in the top 3 strikers is his technical ability is insane, and I don't think a lot of people, unless you watch, actually even the goal highlights and stuff, you'll see that technical ability. But his dribbling ability and the carrying power we've got in our team, and not just him, but like Willock and other players, I think he could potentially play a little bit deeper, and he kind of almost does, to be honest. And that's why a lot of Newcastle fans were screaming for more of a goal scorer to come in and play that right wing slot. He's not an out and out number 9. And I would like to see him play in the team with Wilson potentially. I think I've called for that. That would be a bit of a switch to 4-2-3-1. I don't see why we wouldn't be able to adapt to 4-3-3.
I think it can be done, but then if you do that, surely that would make Gomeres less of an interest, wouldn't it?
It would, but I'm not Eddie Howe, so he's not going to play 4-2-3-1.
True. Why? Different question then. Why Gomeres over Willock?
That's a very good point, actually. So this weekend you've got some injuries, and I think Willock will play left wing this weekend, or he'll do that tandem role with Joel Linton. Now he's back, so I think that's going to be the partnership on the left hand side. He just he played so well, Willock, like really has. I think he was
4.7, Si.
He must have been. Yeah, but my money's not an option right now. But maybe it will be when I come around and I realise I've got 0.0 -5 in the bank and need a Willock signing. Now he's played really well. Southgate must be looking at him, I think, but whether he's got the output and the gravitas to get in that England squad, but he offers like a lot that you look at that current England team and think like that running power from midfield.
I absolutely agree, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, super talent. And yeah, like if you would say like I'm going Willock over Guimaraes, I just think in the big moments, in the big games, and we're going to have a lot of those, I would just trust Bruno a bit more to come through. He's got that personality and that kind of world class level that I don't think Willock's quite at.
I think most of the listeners, viewers might be a little bit surprised you didn't say double defensive. Is there a confidence issue for yourself personally in Newcastle defensively at the moment? Just a team you wouldn't want to go that way new.
Yeah, I think that period of the season is potentially like come and gone. I don't really like double defense on any team. I'm currently double defense on Chelsea, and it's like that's not. It's
You
not really
won't be alone with. I'm going to guess Kepa and Chilwell. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you won't be alone, mate.
Unless the team is really, really like locked in, like we were early in the season, I was shouting the double defense and I was on it, and that's part of the reason why I'm having pretty good season, so to speak. I would just don't know. I'm not seeing it at the moment. We're making that odd mistake and we're getting punished for it. And like you saw, like Botman, and interestingly, did he play it over the international break? I didn't see his minutes.
So he was pulled out of the Dutch squad, and yes, I have him in my squad. I'm guessing you do as well, do you, sir?
No, I don't.
No, you don't at the moment. He was pulled out the Dutch squad with 4 other players because of illness. I know Cody Gakpo rejoined the squad for their game, which was scheduled, I believe, on Monday night, which is prior to us recording. But Botman was one of the other 4 that obviously wasn't. But illness, do we expect it to be bad? I'll assume he's available for Sunday, and then take my 0-pointer on bench boost and
I think he'll play. Right? The only thing I'd say with Botman is it's his first year in the Premier League. You saw he didn't start at the start of the season. And I think there is, like, inevitably with young players like that, there is a bit of fatigue, whether it's mental or physical, that creeps in. So I wouldn't be 100% surprised if he doesn't start every game between now and the end of the season. He shifts Bird inside and brings Target back. But I think it would have to take a catastrophic result for that to happen.
Yeah, and I think probably a dip in his own confidence. And to be honest, he's had an outstanding debut season. Yes, the goal at Forest was primarily his fault. Although worth saying, as well, is there a problem happening with the goalkeeper a little bit? You think of the red card against Liverpool, obviously that incident at Forest where there might be a trust issue going back to him. And he was lucky not to be sent off against Wolves as well, Nick Pope, right?
Yeah, he was. I think he's just like, he's quite an old school keeper, like very good goalkeeper, and just a bit clumsy and a bit big and a bit goofy. So I think you saw it. He did this kind of thing occasionally at Burnley as well. I don't think there's necessarily a problem. I think shot stopping,
right,
he's up there the best. He's just one of those keepers, I think, when the ball's in and around his feet or he's got too much time to make a decision, he's just not being as consistently with his decision making and as he was, and the sweeping part of his game is kind of slightly off at the moment, whereas it was immaculate like the first half of the season. But I think that's just a defensive unit. As I said, they've gone away. They've had like 2 weeks training together. You can read into why Pope didn't join up with the squad, but he's been with that team. Same with Botman, it sounds like, as well. I think we will start to hopefully shape up defensively, and it's just going double on it. I don't know. Doesn't feel like the confidence level's there like it was earlier in the season.
Okay, just in one word, give us a name if you were to go double. Preference with Trippier.
Sure.
Okay, Gary, what's the solution to the Casemiro issue over the next week or so? What's he suspended till? Is it till Forest in 31? Is it?
Yeah, so he misses the double and then Everton at home.
Yeah. What's the solution? There's obviously been a bit of fear about Bruno Fernandes playing deeper. Is that a concern for you? Should FPL managers be concerned about that?
Well, it's something to think about, but given that we've got Sabitzer, McTominay and Fred, I think, I'd be very surprised if he dropped. There might be parts of the game where he drops him deeper, or, maybe on Sunday, or things aren't going right. But I think over the next stretch of games, you've got to expect Fernandes to still play quite advanced, I would say. And yeah, I think it'll be Sabitzer and one of the others, probably Fred. But McTominay scored 2 for Scotland, so he might be feeling good. But I think it'd be 2 of them 3 and play Fernandes a bit further forward. For most of the match, certainly.
If you were free hitting this week, Gary, would you have any love for any of the United assets that we've not mentioned here? I mean, like a Weghorst or an Anthony or a Varane or a Dallo or anything like that at all.
I won't buy Weghorst if I could have him as a 3/16th man.
Get you 4 points though, Gary.
Yeah, maybe Anthony might be one of them who has he looks like he's something in him. But he just can't knit it together at the minute. So he might be one of them who has that random double game week, 18-pointer out of nowhere. Sancho still can't. Just don't know where to play him. Tenag don't know where to play Sancho in the team. Just looks shot for confidence. Varane, you probably go for Shaw or the Dallo probably won't get in the minutes. Wan-Bissaka will take minutes off him. So no, I think you'd be pushing yourself to go for if you were free hitting this week and you had to pick 3 United, it'd be the same 3 that we spoke about on the longer term wildcard, I think.
Yep. Agreed. Guys, brilliant podcast. Love that so much. Thank you both very much. Cut the questions before we finish. Just in a word, firstly, for Sire, who do you think will win the leg?
Arsenal.
Gary?
I'm hoping it's Arsenal. I would love it to be Arsenal. So, yeah, I'll say Arsenal.
Okay, fuck you both. I don't know why I brought that up. Let's do predictions. I won't ask you for correct score predictions for both games. But, Sire, how many points do you think from the United and West Ham games?
4.
Which one will you win?
West Ham.
Gary, for yourself?
4. I've got us down for a draw on Sunday and a win next midweek.
Okay, I'm not going to predict all the games either, but here's one for you, Si. I don't think you're winning this next week. And I think at the end of it, you'll still be above us because you're 2 points behind us, mate. And that's what I think you'll get this week. And I think it'll be 2 points more than what my team get, mate. And I notice your goal difference is better. I think 4 for yourself, Gary. I think home advantage against Brentford. Would you have any concerns about rotation for that Everton game? It's 12:30 after playing Sunday, Wednesday, and then the Everton game. It's the sort of thing, again, it just adds to sort of De Gea over a Shaw, doesn't it? Because it's a certainty.
Yeah. I mean, possibly that might be one of them. It might depend. If we beat Newcastle and beat Brentford, then you might think, do you know what? Do I need to play my strongest 7 against Everton? But given that we don't think he will, then we've got until the Thursday for the Sevilla game. You might see the odd 1 or 2, but I think I'd be surprised if the main guys got rested. I mean, they've been playing midweek. I think they've played the last 13 midweek, so they're used to this now. So,
and just quickly to yourself, Gary, in that week you've obviously got Everton at home. Rashford at home to Everton or Haaland away to Southampton. Have you given that debate much thought yet?
Well, I don't own Haaland, so it ends it for me.
Not going back? You wait until sort of 33, 34, or maybe not at all?
Yeah, it'll depend what I do with these. It depends how much money I spend on this bench boost this week. But as it stands, I probably forget Haaland until 33 and just go Rashford, then Kane in 31.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
But it is Haaland, if we know he's fit, then the fear might kick in.
Well, he's probably going to score most points this week anyway, given all these double game week players. It's inevitable. I mean, I've actually just last thought for me was been looking at maybe just making one of my 2 free transfers and just doing the double move next week. I'm literally just playing my bench boost now because I want to get it out of the way and like you rearrange my squad. But I need to do some tinkering and see if that's the best approach. But yeah, so I've got 2 single game week players. I'm thinking like I might get more points just swapping some players around next week when obviously fixtures kind of
I said we'll talk about it offline if you want. You're a better FPL manager than me, mate. Don't do that. Just come to your own decision. Where can everyone follow you on the Bird app side?
FPL Bibs.
Good man. Gary, you're not on the Bird app at the moment. They can all find you on our Slack, right?
Yeah, I don't think I can log back into my Twitter now. I think it's expired because I've left it for so long. So I've given it up.
if you do start it back up, let us know. Right, tomorrow, Noel Murphy is joining me for the Sky Fantasy Football Podcast. I can tell you next week's clash to correspondence will be Fulham versus West Ham United. It will probably be next Friday. That's with Dara Curran and Chris Stone. Fulham, deceptively, have a really, really good run of fixtures, but probably going to be without their talisman. And Chris Stone will tell you all probably that you shouldn't have got West Ham players for the double game week. Just leaves me to say thanks again so much to Sire and to Gary. Good luck this week, gents. Cue music, please, Manshold.